What's going on, growers? Clone Coach here. I help home growers, large scale producers, and commercial operators root faster, get consistent results, and fix all of the problems that are stifling their production. If you want stronger mothers, faster rooting times, and a nursery that runs like a machine, then you're in the right place.
That shit rooted like crazy.
The top 5 reasons why your clones are rooting slowly. Slow rooting is pretty much all avoidable, okay? I'll show you the top 5 reasons why your clones are rooting slowly and how we could address them. Let's get into it. Number 1, the biggest one, the environment. What does propagation need? What kind of environment does propagation need? And what kind of an environment does propagation thrive in? And what environment does it not thrive in? Cold, damp environment set points will hinder the rooting process. Even if you have a fully rooted plant, and if it's in a cold, damp environment, you're not going to trigger a lot of root growth. You're not going to trigger a lot of transpiration, a lot of photosynthesis. All right. So same thing with your environment with your clones. If it's too cold, too damp, it's going to hinder and or slow the rooting process. Number two, the water temperature. The water temperature is off. So if you have too cold of water, you're like, I got my chiller running 65 or colder, that could be too much of a shock for the propagation stage. Once again, we don't want cold and damp, all right? Will hold more oxygen, and a full-size plant may thrive from that colder water that holds more oxygen, but a clone or in the propagation stage, when you're trying to trigger rooting, that water temperature could be too cold for it. Now, the opposite is also true. If you have water that is stagnant and or warm, has been sitting out with no movement for, more than 24 hours, you could start to warm up the water too much. And without any movement in the water, you're pretty much losing a lot of oxygen holding potential from that water. So you could be more in the pathogenic end of the water temperatures for your propagation. So if things one extreme or another, if things are too cold or too warm, that water temperature is going to affect your rooting process. Number 3, overly saturated cubes. Now, I get this question all the time. Should I shake them? Should I squeeze the cubes? Should I do? Look, I like to fully saturate the media and then get rid of the excess in a uniform fashion. If you squeeze 50 individual cubes, they will not be uniform. They just will not be. So any method of draining the excess water in a uniform fashion is what I would highly recommend. Now, if you are watering too often with the environmentals being off, then that's going to be an oversaturation of the cubes or the rooting media. And when you oversaturate the rooting media, you're going to have slow rooting. All right. That's just what's going to happen. There needs to be enough moisture to maintain rigidity and have, there needs to be enough moisture in there to hold the rigidity of the clone, but too much, too often will oversaturate that, just like you would in a full-size plant. If you overwater it, you're going to hinder root growth, and then kill it, stifle it, you're going to hinder the entire rooting process. So oversaturation would be another reason why you're getting slow roots. Last 2 here, other plant health, okay? The health of your mothers is 100% going to transfer over to the health of your propagated cuttings, okay? You want to have mother plants that are free from pests, free from disease, free from stress. Another thing that people ask me is when to cut them off the mother plant, the beginning of the light cycle, the end of the light cycle, before watering, after watering. Ideally for me, and I've seen the best results, is at least a few hours into their light cycle and after a watering. We don't want them to be thirsty from the night before and have to walk into thirsty plants and then give them water and then an hour later take the cuttings from there. We want them to have enough water from the night before so they're not overwatered or thirsty. Give them water in the morning. Let them start drinking that water. Let them wake up a little bit. Let them perk up from the light cycle. And that is kind of the right time to start taking your cuttings. You also don't want to do it at the end of the light cycle when they're already kind of preparing to go to sleep as well, and or probably used up most of their water from the day, and their water content level is going to be lower. But your mother plants will dictate your clones, okay? So you want to have healthy, green, lush growth, and that's how you're going to get the best possible cuttings as well. Because if you have real thin plants, struggling plants, stressed out plants that have been getting hit with a bunch of preventative sprays, so there's not a lot of growth happening, stunted leaves, and then you take and propagate that, that's going to be a reason why you could potentially slow down your rooting process just because the plant health isn't at 100%. So, mother plant health, crucial. That was number 4. Number 5 here is going to be essentially your procedures. Okay. If you take a cutting, something like taking a cutting and leaving it outside of a water cup for too long, and that mother plant wasn't watered at the right time, you could lose all the water content and start to get your plants to droop and have a bad start already. You could also say when you do put them in a cup immediately, perfect. And then when you go to plug them, you take all of the cuttings out of the cup and let it sit there for 15, 20, 30 minutes out of the water. You could start to lose some of that water content and have the stressor at the beginning of the propagation stage, which could slow down your rooting process. So just be careful, be wary about your own procedures, when, how you do things, maintaining water temperature, water content, maintaining the right environmentals, the right procedures. Say when adding a rooting hormone, just doing enough of a 1 or 2 second dip. You don't need to let them soak in any sort of rooting hormone, be it Root Aid, which you could get at clonecoach.com, which is my own rooting hormone, or any other propagation rooting hormone. Too much of an application could stifle some things as well. So just make sure things are nice and smooth and you're able to do that repetitive action, maintain the right temperature, maintain the right health of your mother plants. Don't oversaturate things, warm up the room a little bit. Don't let it be too cold and damp, and you're going to get those roots to be popping. If you want to get exactly how to do them, just go to clonecoach.com, join a team. You're going to make the best clones ever, guaranteed. Catch you guys on the next video. If this video helped, then click subscribe. And if you have any questions, just drop them down in the comments down below. I'll use that to make new videos every single week. And if you're ready to make the best clones ever, just go to clonecoach.com and grab the SOPs today. See you in the next one.